Welcome to this week's installment of the Feel Fresh Monday podcast series with Tom Cartwright. Yours truly. I was going to say yours faithfully. I was like, I don't know if that's appropriate.
No, I don't know if we're there yet, Tom. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, yours truly, Tom Cartwright, founder of Drink Less, Feel Fresh, accompanied by the incredibly talented head of program design.
Sometimes truly.
Sometimes truly. Perfect.
Depending on my mood.
Yeah, depends on your mood. Nat Hodges, welcome, mate. How you doing?
I'm well. I'm keen for this morning. I love starting my Mondays like this. Best.
Anybody listening live that loves starting their Mondays like this? Nat, go on.
I had a 10-hour sleep last night. It's wild.
Big, good, real good.
Yep. Oh, the wifey put the those blackout curtains in. Game changer.
Yeah, notice the difference.
Game changer. Oh, a little dark igloo. It's great.
All right. First unofficial tip for the day. Struggling with sleep, blackout blinds are working for Nat.
Yep, go to Spotlight.
Love it. For anyone that is listening to this on their car through the podcast, or maybe you're watching this video on YouTube at drinklessfeelfresh.com, you can show up live to these calls. If you have any questions personally for Nat or I, you can comment them straight in the chat panel, which is why sometimes you'll hear that we're interacting with a couple of our live audience or members. In saying that, we're diving into a topic that Nat already knows is one of my absolute favorites, which is when it comes to drinking less and feeling fresh, when it comes to changing a relationship with alcohol and even life beyond having a relationship with alcohol, what are the often unhidden challenges and obstacles when it comes to doing so? And Nat and I run a membership community and have been serving actually since 2018. It'll be easily thousands of people now that have done our detoxes, our challenges, work with Nat or I on a personal level. And one of the most common questions that we have or receive, and I'm almost going to say on a weekly basis, Nat, would be, what do I do about this person? What do I do when this person says this? What do I do when I'm out with family and this happens? So often our influence to drink or our influence to second guess our own desires seems to come from the people that apparently matter most to us.
Oh, what a topic, Tom. What a topic.
So if it's okay, we're going to hit the ground in a very raw and real approach. Nat might reel me in if he can see that my passion is exceeding the expectation of the call. So that's your job for today, Nat.
You have to reel me in all the time. So
yeah. What are your thoughts on that, Nat? Just from what I've shared so far, what comes up for you when I even say that to you as a specialist in the field, a specialist at training, coaching, and mentoring people to live with choice, to live with freedom?
Mate, this is the snake pit. This is this is where all the demons are.
Would you say?
Go for it.
Yeah, I did want to ask you this question. You're kind of probably already answering it, Nat. I was going to say, is this really at the end of the day, when we talk about ditching the attachment to alcohol, at the end of the day, is the only attachment ever worth ditching the attachment to the people that you assume you should spend time with that really, there's no reason for?
Yeah. It's just a massive one. Not only in the experience of other people, but also the experience of removing that attachment. It's a game changer. It is life changing when you see through it all and you see. Well, can we start pretty dense and then wind our way back? Is that all right, Tom?
Yeah, I was thinking for today, rather than bringing a bit of structure, you and I are just going to have what we often have behind the scenes, that open-ended conversation where we can back and forth, because that's generally what people are after.
Right.
What do we hear sometimes? I wish I could be a fly on the wall at the cafe when you and Nat are hanging out. Like, that'd be a weird, fun conversation. Okay. So let's do that.
Here we go. Let's start like this then. Well, what's actually happening, if we're going to start right in the meat of it, is that we're living in what's called projective systems. We're living in projective systems. That means that there isn't, even it's happening right now. It's a little bit less between you and I, but anyway, when you're with family and friends, there's a belief that we're all sharing the same world, the same reality. We're all looking at the same things. We're all experiencing the same things, and we're having a really open, honest conversation between two people. That's not how it goes. We're living in what's called projective systems. Your family member is always, not just sometimes, always projecting themselves into you and seeing in you what they need for that moment. So if they need someone to be angry at, that's you. If they need someone to be friendly with, that's you. We're projecting what we need into people and then working with and talking to our projective systems, not the actual person. It actually takes a lot of development to sit there and I can have a conversation with Tom and not need him to be anything but what he is. But so like we're going to start right at the baseline of it. The conversation is this. People will be projecting into you what they need from you in that moment. So, I mean, good luck.
Yeah, good luck for that can of worms. But it's also really relieving to hear. It's almost like straight away, oh, okay. It's almost a way of understanding, you know, something I've taught for years at Drink Less Feel Fresh is just realizing that their shit is their shit, my shit is my shit, their shit is their shit, my shit is my shit.
Yep.
But it can be so tough, can't it? Especially when it comes to family dynamics, friendship circles, anybody in your life where there's that assumption that you should get along well, the person should support you. If you've got a decision that challenges their way of life, it'll be okay anyway. Any relationship like where that is assumption can bite us in the freaking ass, right?
Exactly right. Exactly right. And the performative contradictions are insane. So what that means is like the sorry, the place in your life where this will happen the most, where someone in your family or friends or whatever is directly saying something that they don't even do themselves, right? Directly giving advice that they don't do themselves, which is called a performative contradiction, is the family unit.
Tell us a little bit more about that, Nat, because I think that's and if it's okay, Nat, I'm gonna share something here because I know when you're giggling where your mind's going. Today, what I think we're gonna look after is the side of attachment that shows up in the physical world of that person, and do you want to give them your time and energy? And then I think we're gonna and let me know, just nod your head if I'm like reading your mind here. And then we might do next week, if the audience are after it, we'll dive into the personal responsibility side, which I know is your favorite, which is now why do you need them to be that person, et cetera, et cetera. Would that be cool?
Perfect. Yeah, that's bang on. So Sharon, the term is performative contradiction. It's here, go for it, Tommy.
Yeah, and performative contradiction is
so when here's the classic performative contradiction. Someone will say something and then a family member or whatever will say, "Oh, you're so judgmental. You're so judgmental," which is a judgment in itself. So they're performing their own contradiction. So and you can't get out of it. Like this is like it's enraging.
Is this like when someone's aggressive, like a heightened state of aggression? They go, "Just calm down."
Exactly. It's a formative contradiction.
What's going on here?
Whoa. And so it just spins the cycle more and more. That is the classic drinking family. I kind of circumstance.
I think what's going to be beneficial is just having this, what the members are going to be listening to, or the viewers and the audience are going to be listening, going, well, this is lighthearted, but they're kind of taking the piss at the same time. And if you're new to the podcast, then welcome. This is how we do it at Drink Less Feel Fresh. If you can't take the piss out of and have a little bit of a giggle about the stuff that matters most to you, it's going to be too hard. You and I, we're all too hard on ourselves. Let alone trying to change your relationship with alcohol, and you have to take it really seriously. Does not mean that it's not important. When Nat and I are giggling and having a laugh here, it doesn't mean we actually go to the depths of how important it is. We believe that it's so important that it's worth having the conversation in an open way.
Yes, exactly.
And, you know, Nat, we'll tip our hat, right? For anyone, you and I have experienced this dramatically, the depth of the pain and the suffering associated to that person isn't helping me on my journey.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there's some easy ways to support yourself, right? And it does come from just being aware. You know, the key to awareness is education. When you educate yourself and learn something new, you can shift the way that you perceive and look at something, and therefore your choices can change.
Bingo. Well, if we flip to the deeper side and the more kind of intrinsic side of this, why it can be so hard, is if you're in a situation where you're in a family circumstance where you have caregivers there, whether that's, you know, biological mum and dad or caregivers in general, then it's incredibly hard. It's one of the hardest developmental steps you'll take, to stepping outside of the family psychic space of, this is my role, this is who I have to be, this is how it's always been, this is what I do around my family, this is how it's always been. One of the hardest but most beneficial developmental steps is taking a step into individuality, into individuation, my own real life with my own thoughts and my own beliefs on how the world is and my place in it, is getting outside of two things. One, thinking you need the family support, right? Thinking you need that family safety. And then two, dealing with all the pushback you're gonna get when you do step outside of the family protective walls. Everyone has to make that developmental step. It is a known step in maturation. And if you are trying to live a real wholesome life yourself and reduce your alcohol or change your relationship with alcohol, you're gonna get pushback from the family, because not only are you taking an individual step, but also you're breaking all these unspoken rules that family knows better. And, this is how we've always done it. So it is one of the most tricky and hard developmental steps you'll ever take.
Mate, to add to that, I would probably say, as you're talking now, I'd say that on the surface, I would think one of the best things I ever did was kicking alcohol and gambling to the curb. But in hindsight, having this conversation, no.
Yeah.
One of the best things I ever did was detaching from my tribe, going it alone, figuring out which tribe I wanted to be in.
Yes. That's the one.
I got an idea. Are you up for this? And I want to hit all of our live audience right now. Please comment in the chat panel. I'm going to, and actually, for anybody that's listening live, can you comment in an example that you have? So now I'm going to rattle off 2 or 3 social specific examples that individuals are experiencing right now.
Yep.
They're aware, they're not aware that there's any more depth to it. They're just experiencing this pain point. And you're just going to share a couple of little, we're going to call them quirky insights.
Quirky insights.
You up for that?
I like it. Quirky insights.
And everybody listening right now is just going to be like, oh, thank God, this is exactly what I need. So, experience number 1, we hear a lot of the time. I told a family member I was on a detox. It's Friday night. They're pouring me a Sauv Blanc. I'm infuriated and enraged. Are you trying to effing sabotage me? Aren't you listening to me? Aren't you seeing me? This feeling of like, I've just told you I'm trying to do something good for myself, and you're pouring me a drink or offering to take me to a club or wanting. That experience is so common, especially for individuals that have just started changing their relationship with alcohol.
Yeah. So the first one, it's not a comfortable one, is that, but it's really, it's not comfortable, but once it clicks, it's really nice. That the probability that your family members literally don't care is really high. And they don't not care because they don't care about you. They don't care because they're so caught in their own world that there's no extra bandwidth to care about your health or your goals. It's harsh, but it's true. So many people are so caught in their own world that they don't have extra compassion to give or encouragement to give. That's the sadder side of the story.
Well, like what you share there, did you consciously learn that? Because when I started studying human behavior, one of the first things I ever learned, and I've always remembered it, was until your need to serve others outweighs your biggest insecurities, you won't be able to care for others. Yeah, that's what I heard in your language there. It's like until your desire to care for something other than yourself, whether it's animals or people or the universe or vegetation, whatever it is, until your care to serve something in the world outweighs your biggest insecurities, you can't actually care. And I like how you framed it. Is it a harsh lesson? Because everybody likes to play. I care. I love people. I care about my family. I want the best for them.
Yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you on the level and depth of what we're discussing right now?
Exactly. So that's it. Please.
Yeah. So you'd say that's probably the pivotal. That's probably the main thing to understand, right? Going into your next experience is to maybe.
It's to not take it personally, because most family members do not have the bandwidth to consider, remember, or care that you're trying to change something in your life when it's so not on their radar of their stresses, worries, concerns, deeper feelings of whatever. And then the practicality of life on the top of that. So anytime the baseline work with family members is never take it personally, because it's not. And it is the most personal place, but never take it personally, because the family dynamics are set so early, so early, and they're so deep that they're, it's an ultimate training ground for forgiveness and compassion, because it's not personal.
In saying that, I'm going to give everybody an invitation that's changing your relationship with alcohol. The next time you're in your family dynamic or a friendship circle or in a social situation with the people that you care about, this is the funny thing, right? When someone you don't care about goes, "Can I get you a glass of Sauv Blanc?" Doesn't trigger you, doesn't annoy you.
Yeah, they get there. Exactly.
So my invitation to you is that the next time this happens, as opposed to looking at it as a challenge or obstacle, take it as feedback, as it's a solid reference point. It's a green tick of approval. You're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's my invitation to you, everybody that's listening. The more people you can see that are kind of like not supporting you is a reference point to keep supporting yourself. It's a green tick. It means you're moving forward. It means you're challenging the status quo. As Nat said, maturation. It's a reference point that you're growing and becoming an individual.
But here's a good personal one, Tommy. Is throughout my whole life, no matter if I've done well in cultural standards, failed massively in cultural standards, cheated on girlfriends, whatever, every time I've shared it with mum as either like, I need help, or do you approve, or whatever, I just get the same response. Like it's you can tell it's not my mum's not interacting with my world, she's interacting with her idea of me. And it's just plain sight. Like if I do, oh, that's really great, son. Like really well done. You should be really proud of yourself. Just to pull the stock standard in. If I do something horrible, oh, it'll be all good. Like these things happen. And it's not. I watch her, and it's just she's not interacting with me. She's interacting with her idea of me throughout our whole life.
Which is what the 99% of us are doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Which is good to know. Is the person interacting with me, or is the person interacting with the idea of me?
A lifelong idea of me.
Yeah. Which on another episode we'll dive into. When you spoke about that example, have I ever told you this, Nat? In 2016, when I was fully committed, I was ready to show up. I'm going to do a detox. I'm going to finally change my relationship with alcohol. It's going to give it 5 months. And I'd said this for years, like I'm going to change my relationship with alcohol.
Yeah.
One of the steps was I sent an email. One of the most vulnerable things I've ever done. Sent an email to my 10 closest mates. First time ever. They knew me as Party Boy Tommy. Let's go out. We'll be out for 2 days.
Yeah, I'm telling me this story.
And I sent them an email like, "Hey boys, real hard thing to send this email. I just want to let you know, just paraphrasing here along the lines of, just want to let you know, I've committed to a 5-month detox. Most of you don't know this, but I do have an issue with alcohol. And I tried to explain it a little bit. And one of the messages I always remember, I said, I know you guys, you like a high alcohol intake, but you don't understand when you guys go home, I often keep going for 24 hours solo. I was trying to let them know, because they were like, you create this facade, like you're happy. So they're assuming that I'm fine.
All good.
And I remember like 9 emails came back, or even phone calls, like, this is great. Like, good on you, man. Like, thanks very much. One person emails back, "What are you talking about? You don't have an issue with alcohol." And it was just the one that I clung on to. You know what I mean? Yeah. The one that I clung on to. So please be aware, team. Nat and I have experienced this multiple times, and there is 2 parts to this experience, which is, when is it just not appropriate? Those people are in my world. And what we might dive into next week, which is, we could have a conversation, Nat, around like, why do you need to experience your mum looking at you the way she sees you, not the way you see yourself? And why did I need that person to reflect back to me what he's, we can go into that conversation, but I think
you can,
at another time. Would you agree?
Yeah, another time, because it kind of opens up a different avenue. But on that, it's a really important point, because I'm at the age now where, like, our friendship group, it's pretty standard now. Like, I'm seeing it a lot that people are still binge drinking, but they're weekend on, weekend off, couple weekends in a row, no booze. Let's do a month off. Let's just have a couple. It's very much becoming moderated, and like I'm experiencing it with my extended family, my wife's extended family. Just in that time, in that generation, we have a couple glasses of red every night, So when we go around there, it's already poured. Like if the glass is poured, I'm like, oh no, sorry. And there's this look of like, oh, they're supportive, but it's very much like this isn't what we do. We have the glass of red together. Like
it's kind of annoying me.
Yeah, okay, yeah, with ya, but okay, yeah, well, let's do it. Yeah, no, I suppose it's okay. Yep, it's very like that. So, and what can happen for some people is that there's a fear of letting the family down. There's a fear of, and I'll explain why, because it's incredibly deep. When we're children, your parents or caregivers are the protection. Not only are they source of love, they're also protection. When we grow up, we've got to realize that every single person will bump into this really strange inner feeling of, I can't piss off them because I remember them being protection. And we can't poke the bear. We can't. It's very, very hard psychologically on us to poke the thing that protects us. Happens in workplaces. If you feel your boss is your protector, being, the moderator of finances or the chooser of whatever, then if you build that person in as protection or security, then you can't piss them off. You can't poke the bear. But if you work on inner security and the sense of security in yourself, you can have at it,
Yeah, mate, that's massive. That is a huge sharing. For those of you that are live, just jump to the chat panel. How'd that go down for you? Any questions on that one?
If you feel anyone or anything secures you, you can't be your most authentic self around them because there's too much fear that they're going to bail.
Well, we won't dive into this because I've got another one lined up.
Example,
specific one, but that one that you just shared there, that's so common because a lot of the time we hear in the professional corporate work environment when individuals are wanting to change their relationship with alcohol with us into a detox, we often hear this, oh, but I do have this like annual awards night coming up, and I'll say, tell me about that. It's like, well, it'll look pretty bad if my boss has paid for these $200 tickets. It's all inclusive alcohol and like there's verve on the table and I'm not drinking it. So you've nailed it there. Are they the protector of my financial world, or sorry, the provider of my financial world at the moment? And how reliant am I on that person? That's an interesting one, right? How reliant am I on that person that I won't be safe if I do poke the bear, so to speak?
Yeah.
Now I got another one for you. Very common, a little bit, I'm going to say a little bit deeper. When individuals are starting to change their relationship with alcohol, they're experiencing a detox. I often hear this. They've done 30 days, 60 days, or 90 days. They're kind of doing really well, but there's still a bit of a fear. They kind of want to have a drink, et cetera, et cetera. And when I speak to them on a personal level, let me know if you've experienced this regarding any drugs or alcohol with private clients as well. But in the Drink Less Feel Fresh community specifically, I hear this so often. I say, what's your biggest fear here? And they'll give me the usual, which is like, oh, I'm afraid of failing. And I'm like, no, that's not it. What are you really afraid of? And what we often get down to so often is I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my partner. I'm afraid that I'm going to outgrow them. I'm afraid that I've now embarked on a journey that it's going to fizzle out the relationship. And now that to me, that still breaks my heart. Like that is so absolutely heart-wrenching that you are on a journey of increasing the quality of your life, and apparently there's a concoction in your mind and your ego is creating reality that don't do that, because if you do, the person you love most isn't either going to come ahead with you or it's going to cause a relationship breakup. Like that. Let's just both agree for now. That's a painful place to be. I want the best for myself, but it might also means we ain't going to be together anymore.
That touches on a core fundamental conflict in literally the soul of people, because when we grow up, our parents are forced to acculturate us. So, and it's not a good or bad thing, it's just how it is. Parents' jobs partly is there to civilize you. So when you're being emotional, by the way, when you're a child and you're being emotional, you're just being authentic. You're not trying to manipulate anyone. You don't have an intention. You're just being authentic. Authentically angry, authentically sleepy, whatever. Now, your parents' job...
Hang on, can I just jump in that?
Yes.
Because this is a common experience, mate. Like what you said it so easily, like it meant nothing. It's so big. If anyone in your world, listeners, is using emotion to drive you nuts or cause you pain, please don't repeat this to them and say, well, I heard
Yeah.
it on a podcast. You're not interacting with an adult.
Never start a sentence with that.
Yeah, never start. These guys at Drink Less Feel Fresh said,
Never start.
It's a nice level of awareness just to appreciate sometimes you're not speaking with an adult, you're speaking with a child.
Yeah.
And if you use that out of volition and ammunition to then belittle someone by treating them like a child or something, then you've missed this message. It is take on what Nat just said, which is when you're a child, you are not using emotion to manipulate. What was the word? Authentic, Nat?
Yeah, authentically angry, authentically sleepy,
authentically angry. And there's a lot of adults walking around these days unawareingly knowing that they're still acting like children.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And I just wanted to share that, Nat. I thought it was appropriate. Not, again, not so that you think, I used to do this. Like, well, I know that now. I'm better than you. All the adults in my world, they're all children. I'm 25, but I'm wise. Like, I know the world. Please don't use it like that. It caused me a lot of pain and suffering. Sorry to jump in that. I hope that was relevant.
No. You've just touched on a really core conflict that we struggle with. And it's really, really, as I said, back in the soul, because when we're young, we just want to be this authentic movement of emotion, but our parents have to shape us ready for the civilization, right? So they inherently punish and reward. They have to shape us for the culture. So when we get, this is the crazy thing, when we get rewarded for fitting the culture, it might not be the most authentic us, but we've been rewarded for it. So we get this funny little situation where that didn't feel really in line, but I got rewarded for it. So I might just stay on that track. So the core conflict is between authenticity and attachment. So when you're trying to be authentic later in life, it feels like you can lose all of your safety and security, all of it. It can feel like every loved one's going to run away. It can feel like every job is going to leave, because deep in the psyche, there is a belief that if I'm myself, then I'll lose my attachment.
Would that come down to, because in a family dynamic raised in a certain social group, you are not rewarded for being a unique individual, you're rewarded for following the status quo in the tribe, because the parents believe that that'll provide you safety, right?
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. So the safety in you, the feeling of security, is built on being rewarded by becoming acculturated, not feeling of security by being authentically angry, authentically tired, authentically, so when we grow up and we want to be ourselves, it plays on this deep core conflict of like, but when I was myself when I was younger, I could lose everything.
For those of you listening, here's the journey. Nat, what do you think? The journey, especially if you're starting out, is to find one or two people that either have removed enough and overcome enough of their obstacles and challenges to no longer be insecure to the extent that they can't back you, even if it scares them, right? Or two, what I've done for a long time in different areas is someone who feels the insecurity that you're about to achieve and experience something that probably they can't do, but bites their tongue, pauses, and responds with, yeah, you could crush that.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you agree? Like, it can start with one person in your life.
You just need one. You just need one.
And it is rare, right? It is. It is rare. I heard. You've probably seen this one. I was going around on Instagram recently, Nat. Jordan Peterson and this passionate rant of, the benchmark for adults supporting and encouraging children is so low. We support and encourage children to the extent that they won't achieve more than us. He had this beautiful, passionate rant. It wasn't to give adults a hard time. It's to give us an insight. Give us an insight that we can, even if it feels like we're bullshitting, we can just zip our lips and go, yeah, you could smash that. You could crush that. And it is rare. And maybe some people listen to this podcast, and maybe we're the first podcast they're listening to, it's just find one person.
Well, I think what we find, Tommy, in our, especially in our mastermind, especially in our intimate stuff, they rock up, they do the programs every single week we have one on, they're there. And the encouragement they get there, genuine, real encouragement. I'm not talking bullshit. I'm not talking professional encouragement. I'm talking human to human encouragement, right? And there's a difference. What that does to them and how far that carries them is insane. And it's not just from us, it's from the other group going, oh yeah, that stage is really hard, you crushed that. And that springs them for weeks, versus like one bit of encouragement can get you through weeks of cultural and familial bullshit.
Yeah, mate, one sentence of encouragement can save you hours and hours of therapy. I would suggest, like,
yeah, exactly.
we are our own best. We were actually, I'm going to park that. We won't go into it. Now, I got one more frame,
Yeah, sure.
and then we'll wrap it up. The feeling, a lot of people aren't aware of it. Some people are, but when you hear this, you might become aware of it. The feeling of ditching alcohol, I feel like I'm going to lose my best friend. I feel like I'm about to grieve. I feel like I'm about to lose a part of me. And people say, yeah, I feel like I'm about to lose a best friend. And it can bring up this, people are, it's hard to be aware of, like, why am I in what feels like an emotional traumatic state? As if someone has passed away, but I'm physically, they haven't. I'm just trying to let go of effing alcohol. What is going on in my body? And when they sometimes, it does feel like I'm about to say goodbye to a best friend.
That's a big one. That's so what happens in the addiction side, the addictive brain, especially with substances, the more you use a substance, the more you build that pattern in. Not only is there start to become a biological dependency on the substance, but there's also what's created is a psychological sub-character that starts to have a life of its own. So that's why addiction is so hard, is because there's multiple, and I don't want to be too heavy here, but it doesn't, I mean, we're ready for this, I suppose. Is that there's your central core you, and then there's the addicted sub-personality, which is a different part of you. That sub-personality has its own ideas, its own values, its own world philosophy, its own models of life. There's literally, psychically, two people. And those two people have a relationship with each other. And the reason why there's feeling like a loss or a grief is because there is. You are deliberately taking apart that sub-character, that sub-ego you've created. There's literally two of you that are in a romantic relationship. I'm not kidding. There is a certain love between the substance and the sub-character and you, because of how much it secures you or keeps you safe. It is, you'll notice that the relationship you have with your addicted self or your attached self has the same dynamics as what you would have with a lover.
And would it be evidence for someone to know that they're experiencing this if they experience something as simple as this? I'm going to go for that new job opportunity. I'm going to ditch alcohol. 2023 is my year. All of these desires, hopes, and dreams. And then Thursday night, it's like, have a glass of wine. Have a glass of wine. If those dreams, not for you anyway.
And both of them are as reliable and valid as confident as each other. That's the tricky thing. It's not obvious to the addicted brain that the alcohol is going to do anything bad. That's not obvious at all.
Just tell me, what do you mean by that? It's not obvious.
So when people get to Thursday and they have a drink and they go, and then they might have a few over the week, and they get to Monday morning and go, oh, why the hell did I do that? Because in the moment of Thursday night, it felt just as valid and just as reliable and just as honest to have that drink.
I get it. You're emphasizing the importance of knowing how
valid it feels,
how valid that identity is.
Yes, how right it feels, how true it feels.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's the thing. It doesn't feel like, and this drives people insane. They're like, I'm not making it up. They're like, I didn't make up a justification of why I had a drink so I could drink. I just was in the moment.
It felt right.
I felt nice and real.
Yeah,
mate. I reckon that's pretty solid, because I think it's something that you and I could talk for hours on. So I kind of want to nip it in the bud there, which leads us into next week. We've got a mini
challenging start right now that I've got to be on.
Oh, epic. Did I hold you up? All right, team. Nat's running a Drink Less Feel Fresh mini challenge in our membership community. Great segue and pitch here. If you want to access that, hit me up, info@drinklessfeelfresh.com, and I'll make sure you're all set up for our next one. Otherwise, here's to drinking less and feeling fresh. Here's to changing our relationship with alcohol, but ultimately changing our relationship with ourselves, so that we can live with choice and freedom. And we hope you've absolutely loved today's call, where we dove into the art of understanding and potentially even letting go of individuals that no longer serve us, so that we continue to change our relationship with alcohol.
Bloody great start of the week, team.
Thanks, Nat. Have an epic one, mate.
Thanks, mate. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye for now.